Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be taking a look at the career journey of Kai-Wen Cheng,
Okay.
who is a young professional in the field of electrical engineering and computer science.
All right.
And for this one, we have a resume.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this is not your typical resume. This thing is packed
Yeah, it's pretty extensive.
with experience, and it's really quite something.
I was really struck by the variety of the expertise,
Oh, yeah.
like just the sheer breadth. You
Okay.
see cadence virtuoso, Python, 7 languages, experience that spans from Taiwan to the U.S.
7 languages.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm curious, what was the first thing that jumped out at you when you looked at it?
The breadth of the skills, definitely.
Okay.
You've got hardcore technical proficiency, then this incredible linguistic ability.
Right.
And it's not just knowing the languages,
Yeah.
it's the level of fluency.
Yeah.
We're talking Mandarin, Cantonese, Taiwanese, English, French, German,
Wow.
and even Japanese.
Japanese. The writing system alone is just so
Yeah.
complex. Yeah.
Speaking of complex, let's talk about this global journey.
Yeah.
Taiwan, Switzerland, Germany, the U.S., it's not exactly a straight line.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is how Kai-Wen seems to seamlessly blend technical expertise with research, with leadership roles,
Right.
and even teaching.
That's a great point. Let's dive into some of these projects.
Yeah.
One that caught my eye involved designing a DC-DC resonant LLC converter.
Okay.
Now, for those of us who are not electrical engineers,
Right.
what is that?
Okay, so imagine you need to water your garden.
Right.
But your hose
Yeah.
has really high water pressure, right?
Oh.
And that can damage your plants.
Right.
The LSC converter is kind of like a special valve system that steps down that pressure, allowing you to water your plants without harming them. But
Okay.
instead of water pressure, we're talking about electrical voltage.
That makes sense. And what's even more impressive is that Kai-Wen didn't just design this converter on paper.
Right.
They actually assembled the entire PCB board themselves. That's right. And a PCB board is essentially the foundation of any electronic gadget.
Okay.
And all the components are connected there. So to design and assemble one yourself, that shows a deep understanding of how theory translates into practical application.
It reminds me of that saying,
Yeah.
knowing something in theory versus knowing it in practice.
Right.
Clearly, Kai-Wen excels in both.
Absolutely. And this hands-on approach is a recurring theme
Yeah.
throughout the resume. And we see it again in the data science internship,
Okay.
where Kai-Wen helped reduce carbon emissions through strategic EV charging.
That's incredibly relevant in today's world.
It is.
Do you think that this focus on sustainability is becoming a must-have skill for engineers?
It's certainly becoming increasingly important.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to note that Kai-Wen double majored in electrical engineering and economics. So that multidisciplinary approach allows them to consider not just the technical aspects,
Right.
but also the economic and environmental impact.
I'm seeing a pattern here of connecting different areas of knowledge.
Yeah.
Which brings us to something else that stood out to me.
Okay.
Kai-Wen's favorite quote, amor fati,
Mhm.
which means love of fate.
That's right.
And this quote is more than just a philosophical musing. It seems to be a guiding principle in Kai-Wen's career choices.
It is.
I'm curious to explore that further. How do you see amor fati reflected in their journey so far?
Well, if we look at the variety of projects and experiences, it suggests an openness to embracing challenges and exploring diverse paths.
Okay.
Instead of shying away from the unknown,
Right.
Kai-Wen seems to dive headfirst into these new areas.
So amor fati isn't just about accepting whatever comes your way passively. It's about actively seeking out challenges
Wow.
and using them as opportunities for growth.
Precisely.
And this proactive approach to learning and growth seems to be a key factor in Kai-Wen's impressive trajectory.
Absolutely.
We've covered a lot of ground already: technical skills, global experience, hands-on projects. Where should we dive in next?
Well, we haven't even touched on the project section yet, which is filled with these fascinating examples of Kai-Wen's hands-on approach to engineering.
Okay.
For example, there's one project that involved the design and implementation of a Kogestone adder.
Kogestone adder. I have to admit, that sounds a bit intimidating.
What is that?
A Kogestone adder is a type of digital circuit designed for incredibly fast addition of binary numbers.
Okay.
Think of it as a specialized calculator
All right.
that can add numbers at lightning speed, which is crucial for applications like computer graphics and signal processing.
So even within the realm of electrical engineering,
Right.
there are specialized areas like digital circuit design
Yeah,
that require this deep understanding of complex concepts.
exactly. And Kai-Wen's work in this area demonstrates a mastery of these intricacies.
Okay.
Which brings us back to that theme of amor fati.
Right.
Tackling a challenge like designing a Kaggestone adder, it's not for the faint of heart.
It requires a willingness to delve into a very specific and potentially daunting field of knowledge.
That's a great point. It's not just about being good at engineering in general.
Right.
It's about having the courage and curiosity to specialize
Yeah.
and become an expert in a particular niche.
And that's precisely what we see in Kai-Wen's journey. Instead of staying within a comfortable general area,
Right.
they've repeatedly chosen to push boundaries and explore new territories.
Okay.
Whether it's in the realm of digital circuit design, global economics,
Wow.
or even podcasting.
Wait, podcasting?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
It seems Kai-Wen actually hosted an ECE podcast during their undergraduate years,
Okay.
which again is another example of stepping outside of that traditional engineering mold and embracing new ways to connect and share knowledge.
I'm sensing a pattern here
Yeah,
of not just learning, but also sharing that knowledge with others.
you're absolutely right. And this willingness to share knowledge and connect with others is a key aspect of leadership. In fact, Kai-Wen has a significant amount of leadership experience
Oh, that's right.
on this resume.
I'm looking at the resume now, and there's a whole section dedicated to leadership roles. Let's dive into that next.
Okay.
So we've got this impressive resume, and we were just talking about leadership experience.
Yeah.
What can we learn from that part of their journey?
It's a really interesting layer to this story.
Okay.
Kai-Wen wasn't just focused on individual achievements.
Right.
They took on roles in the ECE Undergraduate Student Council, even hosted a podcast.
Okay.
And these experiences point to strong communication skills
Yeah.
and a desire to build community.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Engineering can feel like a very solitary field sometimes.
Right.
So it's refreshing to see someone actively trying to create those connections
Right.
and support others.
It speaks to a broader understanding of success, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It's not just about personal accomplishment.
Right.
It's about contributing to a larger ecosystem
Mhm.
and helping others thrive as well.
It's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
And speaking of rising tides, let's get back to those projects.
Okay.
We were talking about the Kaggestone adder,
Right.
which is a fascinating example of specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
But there were other projects that caught my eye,
Oh, yeah.
particularly one that involves designing a 30 megahertz integrated operational transimpedance amplifier.
That's a mouthful, right?
It is.
But what's impressive here is the combination of design and optimization.
Okay.
Kai-Wen not only designed this complex circuit,
Right.
which essentially amplifies electrical signals,
Okay.
but they also optimized it for power consumption,
Okay.
which is crucial in many applications,
Yeah.
especially today,
Yeah.
where energy efficiency is so important.
So it's not just about making things work, it's
Yeah.
making them work
Yeah.
efficiently.
Exactly. And to take it a step further,
Yeah.
Kai-Wen presented this project to their entire class,
Wow.
showing, again, a willingness to not just acquire knowledge, but to share it with others.
That's a really great point. We've seen that throughout the resume, the podcast, the leadership roles.
Yeah.
It suggests this generosity of spirit, this
Yeah.
desire to help other people learn and grow.
Absolutely. And it's a quality that's highly valued in any field, but especially in these collaborative environments
Right.
like engineering and computer science.
I'm also noticing a blend of digital and analog design skills
Yeah,
in these projects.
right.
Isn't that unusual for an electrical engineer?
It is. Many engineers specialize in one or the other,
Okay.
digital or analog,
Right.
but Kai-Wen seems comfortable in both worlds.
Yeah.
They've designed complex digital circuits for high-speed computation
Yeah.
and these delicate analog circuits for signal amplification.
Okay.
That kind of versatility is incredibly valuable in today's tech landscape.
So it's almost like they're a bilingual engineer,
Yeah.
fluency in both digital and analog, just like their fluency in multiple languages.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it speaks to a certain adaptability, a willingness to learn and master different approaches,
Okay.
which again brings us back to amor fati.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the challenges and opportunities
Right.
that come with exploring new territories,
Right.
whether those territories are geographical, technical, or even linguistic.
Okay. I think I'm starting to understand this deeper meaning of amor fati.
Good.
It's not about passively accepting fate. It's about actively seeking out new experiences
Exactly.
and using them to fuel your growth.
You got it.
And I think that's what makes this resume so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just a list of achievements.
Right.
It's a testament to a mindset,
Right.
way of approaching life and work
Yeah.
with passion, curiosity, a commitment to continuous learning.
Well,
It's definitely inspiring.
yeah.
As we move towards wrapping up this deep dive, is there anything else that stands out to you about this remarkable resume?
Well, there is one final thought I'd like to share.
Okay.
Something that ties back to this idea of amor fati. But perhaps we should save that for our concluding remarks.
Okay, so we've been spending some time with this resume, and I'm
Sure.
feeling pretty inspired.
It's hard not to be. We've seen technical brilliance, global experience, commitment to sustainability,
Right.
and this recurring theme of amor fati,
Yeah.
this love of fate. It's really quite a package.
Yeah, you mentioned you had one final thought about amor fati before we wrap up.
Right.
I'm all ears.
Well, throughout this deep dive, we've been focusing on Kai-Wen's journey.
Right.
But I think the real power of amor fati
Yeah.
lies in how it can inspire our own paths.
I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So how can we as listeners apply this concept to our own lives and careers?
It starts with a shift in perspective, I think.
Okay.
Instead of seeing challenges as roadblocks, what if we saw them as opportunities for growth? It's like those unexpected detours on a road trip
Right.
that lead you to a hidden gem.
That's a great analogy. And it reminds me of something we discussed earlier, Kai-Wen's willingness to embrace the unknown.
Right.
Whether it's learning a new language or diving into a complex engineering project.
Exactly. It's about stepping outside of our comfort zones,
Okay.
pushing our boundaries, trusting that the challenges that we encounter will shape us into more well-rounded individuals.
So it's not about avoiding challenges.
Right.
It's about actively seeking them out. That's a bit counterintuitive, isn't it?
It might seem that way at first,
Yeah.
but think about it. When have you learned and grown the most? Wasn't it during those times when you were stretched beyond your perceived limits?
You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Those moments of struggle often lead to the greatest breakthroughs, personally and professionally.
Precisely. And that's the essence of amor fati.
Okay.
It's about saying yes to the challenges that life throws our way
Right.
and trusting that the journey itself,
Yeah.
with all its twists and turns,
Right.
will ultimately lead us to where we need to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Kai-Wen Cheng's resume,
Right.
I want to leave our listeners with this.
Yeah.
What challenges ignite your passion? What unknown territories are you curious to explore?
Maybe there's a skill you've always wanted to learn,
Right.
or a project you've been putting off, or a new field you've been curious about.
Yeah.
Take inspiration from Kai-Wen's story and allow yourself to embrace the challenge.
Embrace the amor fati of your own journey.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll be deep diving into your impressive resume.
That's right.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.